What is up, History fam? Today, we are serving up the absolute tea in this explainer on how the Ayutthaya kingdom completely flexed on the Khmer Empire and shifted the entire balance of power in Southeast Asia. We are talking about a massive glow-up from a traditional, land-based ancient vibe to a totally new, maritime-focused powerhouse. It is wild. Okay, let's dive into this epic agenda, mapping out exactly how Ayutthaya leveled up. We have got 1. Rise of a maritime power. 2. War with the Khmer. 3. The fall of Angkor. 4. Cambodia's shift to the south. 5. Foreigners and royal successions. And finally, 6. Our sources. Let's get it. Section 1. Rise of a maritime power. So, to really get how Ayutthaya totally dominated, we gotta debunk an old myth. For the longest time, historians were basically saying Ayutthaya was just this basic landlocked farming state, kind of just riding Sukhothai's coattails. But new evidence totally dismantles that. The truth is, they were actually a coastal powerhouse from day one. Their massive wealth and power came straight from global maritime trade, insane tribute missions to China, and honestly, state-sponsored piracy. They were a seafaring squad funded by the ocean, not just farming dirt. Think about their geography for a second. Ayutthaya was literally in the most clutch spot ever to completely control maritime networks and totally disrupt a whole region's vibe. Sitting right by the Gulf, they had insane access to international shipping lanes. They were controlling all that cash flowing down the Malay Peninsula. So way before they ever started marching armies on land, they were already stacking ridiculous amounts of coin, basically acting as the inescapable tollkeepers of Southeast Asian trade. Major boss moves.
And you don't just have to take my word for it. Back in 1349, this Chinese traveler, Wang De Yuan, literally called out their aggressive energy, saying the people there were much given to piracy and just secured what they wanted through sheer force. Like, they were not just a chill merchant hub. They were a heavily armed, super ambitious crew totally ready to use naval force to snatch up wealth and lock down trade routes, which set up the massive economic foundation they'd need to go to full-out war.
Section 2. War with the Khmer. All right, time for the messy beef. All that wealth and ambition led straight to this epic, decades-long clash with the neighboring Khmer Empire. The timeline is actually insane. It kicks off in 1352 with Siamese King Utaong throwing down the first massive siege on Angkor. The Ayutthayan forces literally camped out and surrounded the city for like a year and a half. During this brutal standoff, the Khmer king Lumpong Richa tragically dies of illness and the city falls. Ayutthayan installs their own princes as vassal kings to run the show, but the Khmer were not having it. Just 5 years later, in 1357, Khmer Prince Soryavong leads this incredibly clutch counteroffensive and actually retakes the capital. But Ayutthaya just kept coming. Fast forward to 1393, and King Rameswan launches a second devastating siege, absolutely crushing Angkor's defenses again and putting his son, Ponya Prek, on the throne. But wait, in a total Uno reverse card moment, just a month later in 1394, the Khmer hero Ponya Yat executes Ponya Prek and snatches the city right back. Just a non-stop, brutal cycle of clapping back and forth. Now, here's the thing you gotta remember about empires back then. Land was everywhere, but manpower was super scarce. During that 1393 raid alone, Ayutthaya forcibly dragged an insane 70,000 captives back to their kingdom. They weren't just taking territory, they were literally obsessed with kidnapping manpower. They completely drained Angkor of its farmers, artisans, and soldiers just to buff up their own military and farming machine. Section 3. The Fall of Angkor. 1431. Memorize this year, guys, because it is the monumental date that forever changed the game. This is the exact moment King Burra-Maraththera II of Ayutthaya dealt the final, absolutely devastating blow and completely sacked Angkor. That campaign officially ended Angkor's run as the unshakable main character of the Khmer Empire. But, wild plot twist, the military defeat was really just the final nail in the coffin. The actual collapse of Angkor was basically a tragic combo platter of massive disasters. First off, you had wild environmental factors. We are talking crazy, unprecedented monsoons followed by decades of brutal droughts that completely wrecked their ancient water systems. And when the infrastructure fails, the crops die, and people just start migrating, desperately moving south to escape the chaos. So you combine that massive internal breakdown with Ayutthaya relentlessly invading them, the Khmer capital literally stood zero chance of surviving. Section 4. Cambodia's shift to the south. catch in that massive L with an indefensible, ecologically broken city, King Peñayat had to make a huge strategic pivot. He realizes Angkor is a lost cause, officially abandons the ancient capital, and shifts the whole court away from the Siamese border, heading south. They chilled temporarily at Basan, but then quickly set up a brand new, highly strategic base at Chaktamuk, which is modern-day Phnom Penh. This new spot had vital access to major rivers and international maritime trade, basically rebooting the civilization and officially kicking off the post-Angkor period.
Section 5, Foreigners and Royal Successions. Pivoting back to Ayutthaya, it is so wild to see how they actually maintained this massive empire without even having a full-time, standing local army. Instead, Ayutthaya was out here hiring the absolute avengers of mercenaries. They brought in a ridiculously diverse squad to fight their wars, operate cannons, and act as royal bodyguards. The court was literally employing Luzons, Borneans, Cham, Javanese, and Minangkabau fighters, along with Portuguese musketeers, Moors, and yes, incredibly skilled Japanese samurai. Literally the most epic crossover.
So why rely on outsiders? Well, Ayutthayan kings trusted paid foreign mercenaries way more than their own local nobles, known as the Hunang. The local nobles had massive local power bases, meaning they were a super high threat, like they constantly had the resources to actually plot against the king and steal the throne for themselves. But foreign mercenaries, super low internal threat, because they had zero local political base, their loyalty was 100% tied to whoever was paying them. They were safe, incredibly effective tools for the royal court. This whole dynamic totally shaped their internal politics. Elite Japanese samurai, like the legendary Yamada Nagamasa, literally had main character energy acting as kingmakers. They were out here deciding royal successions. In the late 1620s, Nagamasa threw his massive military weight behind King Prasat Thong to help him seize absolute power. When you're trying to survive brutal court drama, you trust the unyielding loyalty of paid foreign guards way over your own ambitious countrymen for sure.
Section 6, Our Sources.
You know we always bring the receipts on this explainer. To get you this detailed historical breakdown, we synthesized pure academic heat from independent researchers like Chris Baker's foundational paper, Ayutthaya Rising. We also pulled from specific dissertations on foreign mercenaries and heavy-hitting texts like Cambodia's Decline and the Fall of Angkor. Plus, we cross-referenced a ton of international databases, hitting up Wikipedia articles on the fall of Angkor, the Khmer Empire, and the history of Cambodia. We even dug into regional language drops, like Vietnamese articles on the fall of Angkor and the Khmer Empire, along with Thai texts covering the Ayutthaya Kingdom and Cambodia's Dark Age. The full, unvarnished truth, guys. So looking at all this deeply sourced history, it just reveals these crazy complex layers of how power actually shifts. You've got an empire built on giant stone and massive populations, totally crumbling under environmental stress and aggressive coastal rivals. Meanwhile, a rising kingdom flexes its authority not just through its own citizens, but by buying the loyalty of diverse global mercenaries. So we are leaving you with this ultimate historical question to chew on. When the dust settles on centuries of conflict, what truly makes an empire resilient? Is it the sheer scale of its territorial conquests, the massive wealth of its maritime trade networks, or the carefully purchased loyalty of the foreigners it hires? Let us know what you think down below. If you liked this, smash that like button, subscribe, and share. May anyone who does this become ridiculously rich.